If you're hearing that sound, you know exactly what's about to happen.
Oh, yes, you do.
If you're a longtime listener, certainly, you know what that sound means.
You're primed and ready. You've been classically conditioned.
It means that we are starting off this episode with Beyond Parody, but not just one Beyond Parody.
Yeah.
Not even two Beyond Parodies.
Oh, my God.
A triple threat. A
threesome.
A threesome.
A threesome of Beyond Parody. A threesome so good that we couldn't wait till the end of the episode. We had to put this front and center so you all can see and watch and admire it.
A three-way of Beyond Parody sections, if you will.
A three-way of intellectual titans, if you ask me.
And the first one I want to start off with today, a little Twitter check-in. We haven't done one the last couple of weeks, so I figured we could check in on how Twitter is going. And folks, it's not going well.
No, not at all.
The update here today is that Elon Musk is now blaming Jewish people for tanking Twitter, for making Twitter worse.
Now, run me through, how exactly did he arrive at this conclusion?
So Elon Musk has started saying that the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, is responsible for half of Twitter's loss in value, so somewhere around $20 billion. Elon Musk said that the ADL, he could get ADL on the hook for $20 billion. Because they've been calling him and the platform anti-Semitic since he took over.
I mean, so have I.
Right, but like for the ADL to say that Twitter's become anti-Semitic since Elon Musk took hold of the company is absolutely true.
Yeah.
There has been a sharp increase in anti-Semitism and Nazis posting.
The first week that he took over Twitter, there were graphs showing that uses of the N-word, uses of like all these slurs, anti-Semitic posts had gone up like X 100%.
But you really got to appreciate that the free speech guy is doing this. The moment... He's all for free speech, but the moment that someone says like, hey, yo, this is anti-Semitic, he's like, class action lawsuit.
That's slander.
He's like, we are banning the ADL. And the reason I say that he's blaming Jewish people for the loss of money here is because this is pretty clearly just a euphemism. Yeah. It's one step removed from just because the Anti-Defamation League focuses on anti-Semitism. And although the ADL has some problematic ties, they're kind of like a Zionist organization too at the same time. It is just him basically saying the Jews lost me this money.
Because it's also like, why are you focusing on the ADL when literally every major news outlet has been reporting on this? Yeah. Fucking NBC ran stories about usage of the N-word going up on Twitter. Pretty much every news outlet, every person that covers politics or talks about politics has said that the platform is explicitly more anti-Semitic and that instances of hate speech are demonstrably up since you took over.
But it's the ADL.
Why are we singling out the ADL here?
Yeah, no, it's pretty obviously a euphemism. It's him saying like, yeah, Jewish people took this money away from me, because he's not focusing on anybody else, because he's saying, or at least he's entertaining the idea of litigation against the ADL for what they've done, quote unquote. So
I guess, yeah. What a fucking guy. And I mean, in keeping with Twitter, I remember distinctly opening up Twitter earlier this week and seeing not one but two posts in a row that said the same thing. You want to know what they said?
What did they say?
They said Obama was the first gay president.
And they meant it earnestly.
And they meant it, I guess. It was Charlie Kirk and Nick Adams just back to back. Obama was the first gay president.
Like, you can't imagine my surprise when I saw those posts as well.
Yeah.
But then I also saw that Tucker Carlson himself was interviewing a guy, platforming a guy that says he had sex with Barack Obama, I don't know how many years ago.
Like in college or something. And it's like, one, it's a crazy thing to hyper focus on like some dude's sex life. You know what I'm saying? If it's true, that's crazy. But two, it's probably not true, because any motherfucker can go up and say that they fucked Obama.
Yeah, anybody can say
I can. Yeah. I can say, oh yeah, when I was in DC a while ago visiting my mom in Virginia and stopped by, I saw Obama at a bar, we locked eyes and went to the back room and got dirty.
He's not doing much these days. He's got time for it.
That's what I'm saying. But this guy, Tucker Carlson, gets him on for this interview, and he's telling this crazy story about how like, oh yeah, Obama put his hand on my thigh and I started rubbing his thigh, and then he came back for more.
Yeah, I don't really understand what the point of these conspiracies are. It's always been a thing that like, it's always been a conspiracy that like Obama is a gay president or he will be a gay president if elected.
Yeah.
And I don't, first of all, in the year of 2023, I don't see why anyone would care about that. But I also gotta wonder,
especially because he's not the president anymore.
Well, yeah, he's not the president anymore. Removed. I don't see what utility these stories have in any way. But even before that, I don't know if these kinds of conspiracies were supposed to be racist or somehow anti-Semitic, or they were just blatant homophobia. But it's always been so weird to me. Like, what do these conspiracy theories tell us about anything?
It's just the constant attacks on the Obamas as well. Because it's like, okay, we have this recent, like, or maybe not recent, but resurgence of Obama is gay.
Yeah.
But for a long time, we had the Michelle Obama is trans.
Yep.
Just for no fucking reason. Just, Michelle Obama is clearly was born a man.
Yeah, and I feel like that one is more blatantly sexist and racist. Yeah, because black women usually get depicted as like, more violent and aggressive
black
than white women. Yeah. But with the Obama gay thing, I don't know where this came from.
I think that it came from, I think a couple weeks ago, it got more popular. I think this interview that Obama did where he's like, I make love with men in my mind, which is a wild thing to say.
He said that?
Something like that. I don't know. It's a crazy thing to say. Or maybe they didn't, and right-wingers just took it and ran with it. But I know that discourse was popping off like 2 weeks ago. And then maybe Tucker saw that, and then he's like, all right, let me go pay some guy to say he fucked Obama.
It would be sick if Obama came out and he was like, yeah, the stories are right.
He said, I did it.
The whole time. I've just been scared to tell you all. I would support that. Twitter would go buck wild if he came out with that information. I'd have a blast.
That'd be good. That'd be good. But again, like I can't get over the fact that like anybody could say these things. Like he doesn't even have like proof.
Yeah.
Like, what proof would you have?
And it really shows that Fox News was just holding Tucker back because now he can platform literally anybody. Because he did the interview with this guy. Of course, he did the interview with Donald Trump, which is more clout chasing, which, I respect. But
for sure,
it still was just clout chasing. But, he's interviewed Andrew Tate and others now at this point. It's like, wow, like Tucker, ever since he left Fox News, has gone off the deep end and become pretty irrelevant. I don't think he's as big as a figure as he was before.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. No matter how much everybody on Twitter is like 170 million views, it's all fake. It doesn't mean anything.
100%. Yeah, look at the likes if you want to get an estimation for how well a video is doing of Tucker's on Twitter, because the views are literally just like half a second of being on your screen with audio off. Counts as a whole view. Like that's not an accurate measure. Yeah, goddamn, it's ridiculous. Flipping to the other side of the aisle. Okay, we got to talk about Nazis. Oh, kind of a theme of this opening Beyond Parody sections. These opening Beyond Parody sections. You all might have seen this already, but there was a couple of instances just the last few days, maybe over the weekend, where there were a bunch of Nazis that just congregated outside of Disney. And they were protesting a couple of things. I think one of the groups was just there because, like, Disney woke, Disney gay. Disney gay, bad. Disney does gay shit on TV. But then I saw another protest, which really perplexed me. Okay. I didn't know what to do with this ideologically. Oh, wow. They were protesting Ron DeSantis doing some kind of pro-Israel legislation. Because they don't like Jewish people, of course. Oh, that's right. That's what they protest from Ron DeSantis, not him, doing all the other horrible things. Protesting Ron DeSantis doing pro-Israel legislation? Like, doing it? Like, he did it in Florida? Either he did it or he visited Israel or something happened where he said Ron DeSantis was going to support Israel. Yeah, like he showed his support for the Israeli state, which we of course know isn't the Israeli state doesn't equal Jewish people. The Israeli state is a state. It's a government, right? They do all kinds of terrible military actions, but Nazis don't like it because it's Jewish people. So that's why they were protesting Ron DeSantis, at least in part. But then I also did see... And that happened outside of Disney? Outside of Disney. This must have been at another protest that was also at Disney, because there were people flying, their Nazi flags and stuff like that. And they also had a Ron DeSantis 24 flag. So, I mean, it's a complex group of individuals. That's what I'll say. Of white men, of course. All white men. Yeah. Every single one of them out there, just a white man. I would say mid to late 30s. Yeah, something like that. I mean, some of them just had their faces out, which I thought was that's interesting thing to do. Yeah, they're really bold now. Amazing that in the year of our Lord 2023, white supremacists feel so emboldened that they will attach their face to Nazi flags just out in public in broad daylight outside of Disney. And I know we got some listeners from Florida. I can't imagine what it's like living in Florida right now, because there was just last week that Jacksonville shooting that we covered that was a white supremacist action, and now you got Nazis openly protesting outside of Disney because they don't like gay people, white supremacy, all of that. And also DeSantis did one thing pro-Israel. You know what I mean?
or he maybe didn't even do a thing pro-Israel, and he just espoused his support for a pro-Israel thing, and they're like, whoa, you're crossing the fucking line there, Buster.
Yeah.
You better back the fuck down.
The problem for Ron DeSantis is that groups like this are a meaningful part of his electorate. Like those are voters he needs to get.
Well, they're not the broad electorate. Out of the, 8% of GOP primary voters that like him, that's a swath.
Yeah, no, that's a large percent, especially because we know Ron DeSantis has Nazis, or at least had, probably still does, among his ranks. They've been outed a couple of times and fired, but you got to believe that the ideological strand still exists.
Yeah, but it's like, that's kind of a funny thing to think about, too, because it's like, okay, if they're with Ron, they're clearly against Trump for like whatever reason. They're not going to go to Vivek because he's brown. Exactly. They're not going to go to Nikki because she's a woman. Mm-hmm. Who do they stick with?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Doug?
Yeah, they go to Doug Burgum.
Doug Burgum, Asa Hutchinson?
I don't know. No, they're probably going to stick with Ron DeSantis, but I don't know. I thought it was an interesting turn of events.
Yeah, that's a sight to see. Yeah, that's a sight to see.
Very ideologically complex. Some analysis needs to be done there.
Holy shit! Mm-hmm. I like how much overlap there was between these three stories.
Yeah,
because the same people that were there are the same people that are talking about Obama being gay.
Yeah,
seriously though.
Maybe this is just like recency bias in the stories that we just talked about. But I feel like for some reason that the Obama gay story has some kind of anti-Semitism in it. Like, I just feel like it's there somewhere. I don't exactly know where. I can't pull it out and analyze it, but I feel like it's there.
You said there are sprinkles. There's a little bit of a vibe going on.
It feels like for some reason it would be anti-Semitic. Like for some reason, you know what I mean? I don't know why.
I don't know why. Hey, man, don't fucking quote me on it, but...
Well, get us out of here. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. I bet you know right away.
Yeah.
We're back in person.
Hell yeah, we are.
We received some feedback, I'll say.
Yes.
From the format of the last episode. And you know what? First mistake we ever made, last mistake we ever made. It's not going to happen again.
That's what I'm saying. My girlfriend, she'll never fucking get COVID again. Let me tell you.
And if she does, she's the one out on the street. And I'm coming into the studio.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. We're quarantined, the Hiddo bubble. We're going into it.
We're literally back. Don't even worry. Audio quality is back to normal. The interaction is back to normal. The synergy,
the video, it's all there. Everything that you've come to know and love from us.
Everything that you pay us for.
It's emphasis on that, heavy on that part.
It's back to normal. So this episode, we're going to be talking about how Republicans are bad. Mm-hmm. That's just a general trend for this episode.
We're talking about how corporations are bad.
Corporations are bad. The government and the economy circling the drain.
Yeah.
Not doing very well. But before we get into all of that, I'll remind you all, the mugshot merch still available.
Of course it is.
It's in the Head in the Office store. You can go and get yourself one. Too. I've noticed that people really like the Indictment Taylor Swift Eras t-shirt quite a bit. That's the best seller.
Incredibly topical.
Yeah.
Incredibly topical, I will say.
So if you want yourself one, go take a look. Humor us.
Come on.
Maybe order yourself one. Get it shipped to your house. Maybe as a gift. As a back-to-school gift for a friend.
Get a back-to-school fit from the Hiddo shop. You can pull up. You can get an Indictment shirt. You could get a hat.
A sticker for your bottle.
And a sticker for your bottle.
Exactly. Easy peasy. Head over to headintheoffice.com. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. We always appreciate the support.
Every one of you.
You get early access to episodes.
What's better than that?
Other things that we figure out along the way.
Help us beat the news cycle and go on and listen at the Sunday sermon.
And if you're not listening on YouTube already, I'll encourage you to go over to YouTube and subscribe. Yes. If you are listening on YouTube and you're not subscribed,
what are you doing?
Come on.
What are you doing? If you want to see us on video, go to YouTube. It's where the videos live.
Of course, you're probably from TikTok, so welcome to the episode.
True.
Thanks for checking out the long-form content. But of course, we got Twitter, Instagram as well. You can go follow. Join our Discord that's in the description. Follow the Upwire, of course. We're a part of that network.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate all the support, as always. Another way you can support us, though, is by leaving a review on Apple.
5-star review on Apple. And if you happen to live abroad, you could DM us the review because we can't see the Apple reviews that are from like Canada and shit.
Yeah, that's why I hate the FCC.
I'm saying our fucking neighbors up north getting shafted.
But the one Apple 5-star review we have today is from My Name is Kate, and that's all. Girl bossing our way through fascism. Kate says, as the youngest elected person to ever make it to my small Red Town's town council, this podcast has come in handy more times than I can even count. Oh, we're making our way into like meeting minutes. That's gas. I mean, in a Red Town's meeting minutes.
Meeting minutes.
We've been immortalized, really. I'm constantly surrounded by the most putrid takes. I'm a woman, I'm a leftist, and I just graduated like Jeremy and Gage. Y'all can imagine. This podcast has helped me firmly cement my leftist takes and defend leftist policies. It's easy to go into a doom spiral. Why is it 95 degrees in September?
Facts.
Get me out of here. But Jeremy and Gage have further galvanized me that although we are perpetually screwed, we can still hold ourselves accountable and still save ourselves from the worst timelines. I can't recommend this pod enough. Please, if you're a young leftist like myself, run for office. You can get elected as a Democrat in a red town. You can make change. Jeremy and Gage prove that every week.
Well, now you don't need to give us that much credit now.
Yeah, no, we have no political authority at all.
I get on here and I talk.
Yeah.
It's a fake job.
We don't even wield economic authority. I can't lobby the government.
That's what I could barely make rent.
Oh, the only influence we have is social, not parasocial. It's like intimate relationship.
With you all.
Yeah, exactly.
With you all. That's the influence we hold. Speaking of people we hold influence over, we got another Instagram review coming from Zachary Trinkle. Indoctrination in the best form. Head in the Office is a hilarious deep dive into the horse shit that liberals have to deal with on a daily basis. Being in the worst state in America, aka Florida, makes me go insane having to listen to conservative horse shittery without an end in sight. This podcast is a beacon of light in an already very dim world due to the Republicans. Thankfully, I've gotten into a college out of state and will be moving there in a few weeks. Congratulations on your exodus.
Yes.
But I will still listen to your podcast because it makes me laugh so hard. I'm so glad I found this podcast on TikTok. Keep up the good work, calling out conservatives on their bullshit. I look forward to a new episode each week, and I want those episodes to be just a little bit longer. Other than that, I love the podcast.
We are limited by the news, but I endorse the sentiment. I endorse the sentiment, of course. Is it time to get into the news? Speaking of,
I think it is.
First thing we got to talk about is, it's fall.
Yeah.
And with fall comes the imminent threat of government shutdown every year.
Exactly.
And this year, of course, is no different. Whereas we may have freed ourselves from the shackles of debt ceiling discourse, we now find ourselves surrounded, really, on all sides by the threat of a government shutdown coming down the pipeline. It's on its way.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it when budget talks just break down, just completely. Break down.
I really wish both sides could come together and find some common ground. Treat me like an Aaron Sorkin episode right now. You know what I'm saying? Like the West Wing type shit. What I'm referring to here, of course, is the fact that the federal government has to pass a new fiscal budget, which is an appropriations bill, for the coming year before October, or the government will shut down. If you don't remember, government shutdown just means that the government can't really spend money anymore.
Yeah.
It means federal employees will get furloughed over time. Some essential functions continue, like Social Security payments keep going out. But others slow down or completely shut down, like airlines and subsidies we give to airlines.
Don't federal employees not get paid?
Yeah, some of them
shutdown?
get to stay on, but it's a very small group that gets to stay on. Everybody else gets furloughed. The national parks, I think back in 2019, started to shut down, even though they can stay on for some amount of time. It's not good.
Yeah.
A government shutdown, not as bad as hitting the debt ceiling, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But it's still never a good thing to happen. Still hurts the economy, of course. Now, the core issue here, of course, is that the Republicans control the House with only a couple of seats, but even though they only have a couple of seats, they still have the leverage to determine what's in the budget before passing it at the threat of a government shutdown. And of course, we know with Republicans, they're willing to do whatever they can if it means either like hurting trans people, hurting immigrants, or scoring some political points on a random item like gas stoves or something.
Especially when this is the only thing or only like instance where they can reasonably leverage what little power they have right now.
Yeah.
It's really the only thing they can do is just be obstructionist.
Yeah, it's like this and the debt ceiling procedural stuff that has to happen. They could pass what's called a continuing resolution, which is funny because it's literally just kicking the can down the road. It's like the debt ceiling, how they can just be like, we'll wait.
Yeah, hold on. Just push it to the side.
It's like these things have enormous stakes, but they can also just be pushed down the road whenever they want.
Yeah, they're all fake. They're not real.
Yeah, they're only real if we like let them be real. It's a weird situation. But with the potential government shutdown on the horizon, the Freedom Caucus in the House, all of our favorite Republican demons, really. Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Matt Gaetz,
Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, of course, all of our favorite demons. These people have raised some demands. These are from a couple of weeks back at the end of August, I believe. But we have a concrete list of what they want to see out of this budget. So the House Freedom Caucus has demanded first that the House pass the Secure Border Act along with the budget, which is a bill that basically rolls back all humanitarian protections for immigrants, the few that they still have in the United States. It resumes wall construction, does a couple of other inherently evil
wall
things.
Construction, notoriously a great place to sink money into.
Yeah, it's really gone very well.
Notoriously super effective.
Their second demand is to end the weaponization of the FBI. Classic culture war.
All right, bro.
Classic culture war. And you know what? I totally agree. We got
and the FBI.
Abolish the FBI hats. We got them. I forgot to bring them today, but we
this
got
would have been the perfect occasion to just bust it out.
Yeah.
From right behind the scenes.
We're the ones who really want to abolish the FBI.
Damn.
Their third demand here, and this is a direct quote.
Okay.
End the left's cancerous woke policies in Pentagon, undermining our military's core warfighting mission.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, man. That's gas. You really want to let women in the war? I want to win wars. And you want women to fight in this?
Affirmative action woke makes our military worse.
That's right.
Even though empirically that's not true. The opposite.
I don't know what could be woke about the U.S. military.
Yeah.
Like, just straight up.
I don't know. I think it's that like Mark Milley talked about like
he talked about critical race theory.
Mark
one time,
Milley made a classically liberal argument where he said like, yeah, it's fine to learn about communism and CRT. I don't believe in either of those things, but you can still read about them and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's I remember that's what he said like more than a year ago. And then they're probably talking about like affirmative action in the military.
I think it's that.
Gender
and I think
affirming
it's
care.
It's letting trans people in the military. It's really just letting anyone that isn't a white guy be in the military.
Yep.
Is wokeness.
Yeah. Oh, also like the military offering funding for people to travel for abortion services is a thing they've been doing. Actually, there's been a Republican senator, I think his name is Tommy Tuberville, who has been holding up.
He's been obstructing a bunch of aid.
He has been holding up military appointments until Joe Biden or whoever is in charge says that the military won't offer abortion services anymore. He is putting national security at risk just to score points in the culture war.
That's funny. And that's a weird thing to stake this all on right now, because I know I've seen a couple articles this week about how the GOP is trying to pivot from like pro-life framing. They're trying to be like, we're not pro-life, we're pro-baby. Yeah. And shit like that. Like, I don't know, dog. If you can't get people behind your message when your message is staked on being pro-life, I think it's going to be a shitty message, and the message itself is cancerous and not the framing that you're trying to get it across.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some internal polling that suggests like 70% of people don't like the pro-life label.
Yeah.
And so they're going to try to say, yeah, pro-baby or anti-baby murder or something like that.
All those are just worse than saying you're pro-life.
Yeah.
Like,
because everyone's gonna know what it means. Like you're not tricking anybody. You know what I mean? And in the case of this Republican senator, he's like sacrificing the military to get it done. I don't know. They're pro veteran, pro troops though. Of course,
that's right.
The next one of their demands is no blank check for Ukraine. This can mean whatever they want it to. I think this has been what they've been saying for months now, and I'm starting to feel that on the right, the whole no more funding to Ukraine thing is kind of just an empty talking point. Because I think they know it's not going to happen. Some of them obviously are ideologically aligned with Putin, but the ones that are saying this, that don't actually really care, that they're just doing it purely for culture war, I think they're just saying it at this point. I don't think it means anything.
I think they know that it gets like a good base of people riled up, especially when they couple it with inflation rhetoric, with which actually does something, which actually matters to people. And they can say, okay, look, inflation's running rampant, all this is running rampant, you can't afford groceries, rent, whatever. And that's because the government is giving money to Ukraine.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And they can say, oh, look at homelessness. Democrats don't want to do anything about homelessness. They want to send money to Ukraine. I think it's just this thing that they can use as a way for people to think that they want to solve these problems without actually doing it. It's the same thing as, oh, it's not a gun violence problem, it's a mental health problem. But they don't actually want to solve anything.
Especially when funding for Ukraine makes up like a fraction of U.S. military spending, like a very small percentage of how much we spend on the military overall, of course, leading the world in that regard. And we have money elsewhere to help people that Republicans routinely vote against using it for. So, I mean, I just feel like it doesn't really matter anymore. I don't even know if this is working with people at this point.
I don't know.
They're not like principally anti-war, right? It's like the same people that are saying that they want to stop funding the war in Ukraine are the ones that are also like, yeah, let's invade Mexico.
Facts. Let's militarize the border.
Yeah. Like, what are we talking about? Ridiculous. And of course, their final demand, very broad. They just want budget cuts.
Of course.
Which is like the normal conservative thing that you would expect. Individually, though, Marjorie Taylor Greene has promised that she will not vote for the budget, one of the 5 that Kevin McCarthy needs to keep.
Okay.
She won't vote for the budget unless the House gets to open an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden, officially open it.
That's pretty sick.
I don't know if this is for Hunter Biden, like doing blow and fucking hookers, if that's the point of the impeachment inquiry, or if it's for like the mishandling of the border against Joe. Like, I don't know what topic it's for, but she wants an impeachment.
I swear to God, I can't believe there's not a process to impeach her for showing cock on the floor.
Yeah.
On the Senate floor when she just busted out a picture of his cock, just sent revenge porn. Like, if anyone should be impeached for Hunter Biden, it's her.
With very minimal censor marks.
Very
minimal as possible. Now, on the other hand, of course, we have the GOP in the Senate. They seem a little less willing to torpedo the government and more willing to be the ones that usher through a deal on the budget here. But it's hard to see a way out of this if the Freedom Caucus, which is more than 5 people, is preventing the passage of a budget that the Republicans want to pass, especially because Kevin McCarthy's got to do whatever they say.
Man, I bet he regrets going so hard for the speakership. He's got to regret it because that dude's life has got to be hell.
Good.
Deservedly so.
Yeah.
He did it all to himself. Like, don't get me wrong, but there's no way he sleeps at night with all this fucking drama every few months.
He's already indicated that he's open to an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden, so that's probably going to happen.
Wait, okay, go ahead. I don't think it'll mean anything to anyone.
Yeah.
The Trump impeachment didn't mean anything to anyone except for like liberals.
Right.
Like hyper liberals. They're
actually,
the people that
I think
actually focused on it.
Trump's approval rating went up after the impeachment happened because I think a lot of people viewed that impeachment, maybe even both, as bogus. And it just fueled fire for Trump. And I think the same thing would happen for Biden.
And it helped
especially if it's about the Hunter Biden cock photos.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Biden's approval rating is going to be 1,000%.
Skyrocket. Show it to me. Drop the pictures. Like,
they'll have to.
If you take the censor bar out, let me get those dimensions.
Yeah. Oh, man. So once again, Republicans here, they're willing to break everything to get their way, something Democrats usually never do or never really do. I mean, in 2019, the government shutdown happened. It was the longest one in history, by the way, under Trump. Happened because Trump was demanding wall for the border, or money for the wall at the border.
Okay, he was demanding wall for the border.
Yeah, he was demanding a wall for the border, and Democrats weren't budging on that. So the government was shut down for like 40 days or something. But
which like makes sense. I don't know. I feel like it makes sense to try and like go a little hardball when it's something that's such an egregious waste of money and such like not a human rights violation, but so like cold. Other than like, oh yeah, we want to like cut funding to the IRS, because that's what they mean when they say budget cuts. The IRS just came out, I think it was Friday, and they said they're going after 1,400 millionaires for like over $250,000 in back taxes that they owe. It'd raise a couple $1 billion, but they need the new agents to do it. And if the cuts go through, they're not going to be able to do it.
That's crazy, dog. That they're just, oh my God. It's so blatant when Republicans are anti-IRS. They're just telling you, like, I don't want billionaires to have to pay taxes. I don't want millionaires to have to pay taxes.
And it's crazy because IRS explicitly came out. They said, we are not auditing anyone that makes less than $400,000.
Yeah.
This is explicitly to get people over $1 million in income who owe over $250,000 in back taxes. That's it. You're nothing's happening to you.
And taxes didn't budge except for what? The top marginal tax rate increased by like 4% or something like that.
Which is nothing. Like, I feel like when you have ungodly amounts of money, when you have like over $100 million, I don't think you care if 4% more of that is gone. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with all that money?
And moreover, I feel like once you hit 100 million, like you won, that's it. No more money. Like that's where you top out.
Because what can you not do with 100 million that you can do with like 200 million?
Right.
At that point, it can't be worth it. There's no way it's worth it.
And it's actively damaging to democracy and literally all of our systems that operate for the public. Like, no.
If I hit the lottery and won like $5 million, I'd be set for like the rest of my life. Assuming I live 100 more years and I could just spend like 50 of that every year. Holy shit, bro, I'm balling. Like,
I just think it's so blatant when Republicans come out and say they want to defund or abolish the IRS. Like, you're just saying you want billionaires to never pay a cent in taxes ever again.
To do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Golly, bro, it's fucking stupid.
Anyway, speaking of billionaires, billions of dollars.
Speaking of billionaires, billions of dollars, companies that are bad, we have a potential UAW strike on the horizon, folks.
Let's go. It's not summer. Well, I guess it's still technically summer until like what, September 20?
Yeah, true.
Like that.
True.
So maybe continuation of hot labor summer.
Oh, always. And, a couple weeks ago we talked about this, but we have a few updates. With UAW and their negotiations with the big three Detroit automakers, Ford, GM, and Stellantis, which makes Chrysler. They're kind of
I was going to ask, is Stellantis Chrysler now?
Yeah.
Or other way around?
They're kind of new. They're a little bit weird.
Yeah.
So anyway, and this week it's looking more and more like that strike is going to become a reality as communications continue to break down, as they always do. UAW and the automakers have until this Thursday, September 14th, just before midnight, to strike a deal. And I personally really appreciated this because, as you all know, that's after Wednesday, and so that's after this episode goes up.
They did that for us, really.
They had to have.
Yeah, communications are breaking down, but not so much that we miss the news.
That's solidarity, if you ask me. Fellow members of the working class.
There's already a 3-day range of news that we could miss, and I'm glad we didn't miss something that might tank the economy.
Something that might send Michigan's economy into a little recession like it did last time.
Ooh, that was sick.
I digress. In preparation, the strike has already been officially authorized with overwhelming support from union members. Per CNBC, 98% of hourly workers and 99% of salaried workers at Ford voted in favor of a strike. At GM, 96%, and at Stellantis, 95%. Everybody wants this to happen, right? And not only are the members willing to strike, they are financially prepared to strike as well. The UAW strike fund contains $825 million. And with that, the union plans to pay members $500 a week while the strike is going on. Across about 150,000 union members, that money could cover everyone's strike pay for up to 11 weeks, although CNBC also reports that number doesn't account for other expenses the union will pay for, like temporary COBRA benefits.
Yeah, okay.
So either way, no matter how we slice this, the strike fund won't necessarily be able to last 11 weeks if it's a national strike, but they are more than prepared to outlast what the last GM strike in 2019 was, which was 40 days.
Yeah.
40 days.
That's huge.
That's huge.
That's a long time for automakers to just not be operating at all.
Oh, yes, it is. It's crazy. And the union's top demands are a 40% wage hike over 4 years, pay increases based on cost of living, which I feel like should be standard no matter where the fuck you are. And it blows my mind that it's not.
It's literally called the cost of living.
I'm saying.
If an alien species came down from space, they'd be like, what do you mean cost of living?
An alien species came down and like, what do you mean you can't live where you work? What?
Cost of living? What do you mean? Do you mean you got to eat?
Fucking dystopian concept, let me tell you. But
Capitalism.
Anyway, they're also demanding restoration of retiree health care and pensions, capping the use of temporary workers, better profit sharing, and a shortened 32-hour work week.
That's the best
That
one.
is so fucking sick, bruh.
I need that to become the economy standard.
Absolutely.
4 hours or 4 days. Yeah.
It's so good. 3-day weekend, bruh. I'd be creaming myself all the time. But anyway, a lot of people are saying that this is way too ambitious, including the automakers, obviously. And the union president, Sean Feen, had this to say in response, quote, I know that our demands are ambitious, but I've told the companies repeatedly, I'm not the reason that members' expectations are so high. What's driving members' expectations are the big three's profits. You cannot make $21 billion in profits in half a year, 6 months, and expect members to take a mediocre contract. You can't make $250 billion in North American profits over the last decade and expect us to keep aiming low and settling lower. Our campaign slogan is simple. Record profits mean record contracts.
Come on, dirty communist.
Hey, bro, let me tell you, that's the coldest shit I've ever heard a union president say.
Bro is Jimmy Hoffa.
Bro got in there, and he's making demands, and I fucks with it.
Yeah.
I fucks with it. Ask for all that you want. $21 billion in profit over 6 months is absurd.
That's crazy, yeah.
That is
6 months.
Fucking absurd.
6 months. For comparison, I think the writers and actors are saying that like Netflix, Amazon, etc. can pay what they're demanding because they made like a couple $1 billion last year.
Yeah.
In comparison, 21 billion over half a year. Come on, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so much money. I can't even comprehend how much money that is. And that's extra. Keep in mind, profits are extra.
Yeah.
That's after expenses. That's after everyone's been paid. That's after everybody goes home. Ridiculous. And so UAW also is quick to point out that executive pay has consistently ballooned at all three of the big companies. And per NBC, for example, GM chief Mary Barra's compensation grew by 32.5% from 2018 to 2022. During the same period, the median GM employee's pay grew by 2.8%.
Come on,
2.8 to 32.5%. Like, bro, what are we doing?
What the fuck did Mary Barra do to earn 32.5% raise over 40 years?
I know she wasn't working on the fucking line.
Yeah, what's she doing that a ground level automaker is not doing?
I know she's not doing anything that's gonna, break her back over the next couple of years. She's not doing anything with her hands, and she's not doing anything that's gonna make her, lose her fucking hearing.
Importantly,
as she continues to work in an auto plant.
Importantly, she's not doing anything to make cars. Literally nothing.
Importantly, she's not making the cars.
She's not contributing to the process. She's pushing the pen for production orders maybe?
Basically.
Come on.
She's telling other people what to do so that they can tell other people what to do so they can tell other people what to do.
Bro, I could do that.
That's what I'm saying.
Come on now. Requires very little input.
Exactly. But I think it's also important to keep in mind that a lot of this is in the context of what workers gave up back when the financial crisis happened and the automakers needed to be bailed out.
Yeah.
Back then, they gave up their pensions. They gave up things. They took pay cuts just so that the company could stay afloat.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is just stuff that they're asking back. Yeah. Pensions, they just want back because that's something they used to have and used to be promised that they willingly gave up.
Yeah.
And they won't do it.
And keep in mind that all three of the major automakers were begging the government for money at the same time workers were giving things up.
Yeah.
And two of them, I think Ford ended up not taking government money, but both GM and Chrysler, when it existed, took the government money and workers had to give things up at the same time. It seems like record profits now would necessitate a kind of change.
And it's also, that's not adding up. Making your workers also bear the brunt.
Yeah.
And then making the government bear the brunt, but nothing happens to you.
Well, exactly. Well, it's socialize the losses. And what's the
privatize the profits, socialize the losses.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
It's exactly what it is.
Fucking ridiculous, and I cannot believe that they get away with that. And just putting that in context, I don't know how you think that these could be ambitious. I get that a 40% pay increase sounds crazy, but it's 10% every year.
Yeah.
Amid record profits.
Yeah.
Amid record profits.
I promise you, anytime a union is demanding anything, or at least 99% of the time, the company can afford it.
Absolutely.
The union isn't going out here saying, give us all $21 billion. I want to literally kill the CEO. Obviously not. They're not being greedy. Yeah. They're not being overly demanding. They want what they think is fair. And if you have more than 90% of your workforce saying we should strike if we don't get this, you got something going on.
They're not asking for fucking Henry Ford's body to be brought out of cryo freezing to be burned in front of everyone.
Treated like Mussolini's corpse. Nobody's saying that.
But that's how the automakers are acting. They're acting like this is such a slight, and it's crazy. And I mean, speaking of the automakers, I wonder how they responded. And as of Friday, all companies have responded. And while I don't have details for GM and Stellantis, they took so long to send UAW their first proposal that UAW filed a complaint with the NLRB alleging that they're holding up the negotiations period and engaging in unfair labor practices and not bargaining in good faith and timely manners. So that's pretty gas.
Yeah,
but
and the NLRB is full of communists.
Exactly.
Nowadays.
It's pretty sick if you ask me. But Ford did get back to them, and I have some details for the Ford proposal. Sick. So what I have here is a graphic from the UAW website that we can put on the screen or whatever. Yeah. And it's comparing the UAW's demands with Ford's offer.
Okay.
So UAW demanded a cap on the use of temporary workers, which would require conversion to full-time seniority employment after 90 days.
Yeah.
Ford said no. On use of temporary workers, Ford has the right to unilaterally transition to an entirely temporary workforce over time. So not only did they say no, they said no more.
They said no, and nobody's ever going to get job stability ever again.
They said no, and actually you get less than before. Take it or leave it. And this is our counter offer.
And all future generations will be fucked economically.
So that's gas.
Yeah.
How do they have the audacity to respond like that?
Right.
But that's not even where it ends. UAW is demanding double-digit pay increases to match salary increases of Big Three CEOs and catch up with inflation.
Naturally.
Very important part. Ford said, overall cut to real wages due to inflation with 9% general wage increase that leaves workers even further behind.
That's crazy. He said, I'm going to give you less.
No.
Yeah, they said,
no.
Can we get like a little bit of a pay raise? And they're like, what if we don't do that?
Yeah, what if like it looked like a raise? Like what if you got more dollars, but in reality it was less?
Nominally, it's a raise, but does it do anything for you amidst inflation? No. And I think that's okay.
But more money in your bank.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And more money in my bank.
Exactly. Anyway, UAW also asked for, again, cost of living adjustments so that wages keep up with inflation and our quality of life improves. And Ford said no. Ford just straight up said no, you're just getting a lump sum. That's it. Fuck you.
Oh my God. How do companies look down the barrel and see what 95% of the workforce is like, yeah, we've authorized a strike, call it whenever you need to. And they're like, no. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to even try to negotiate here.
And it's amazing, especially when I get into financial figures on how much the strike will cost in a little bit. But another demand the UAW had, again, is eliminating like tiered employment. So 90-day wage progression, restoring retiree health care and pensions. And Ford said, no, tiers remain, and you have a 6-year progression to top pay with no health care, no pensions.
That's wild, because we saw John Deere fold on the tiers demand. Because remember when we covered John Deere, a big complaint from employees is that people coming in now are treated so much worse than people that have been here because we have this tiered employment scheme. And those are usually just a way to, over time, get rid of benefits that you used to give to other people. And I again, Ford just hardlining it and saying like, no, fuck you.
And it's like, to further elaborate on Ford's stance on temporary workers, the UAW wanted full-time status after 90 days of employment for 85% of top wage rate, receiving profit sharing, full healthcare, and full retirement benefits. Something that sounds very reasonable for a full-time employee, for somebody that, works at the company. And Ford said, actually, no, we can use however many temps that we want. You can never have job security. They're going to get paid 60% of the top wage rate, or less than 60% of the top wage rate, no profit sharing at all, second tier healthcare, and no retirement benefits.
God, how can anybody look at that dynamic and be like, yeah, this isn't just one step removed from feudalism?
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want to offer you no job stability whatsoever, and they can use those temporary workers to undermine the protections that regular full-time workers would get.
Oh, it's
Come
good.
on now.
It's good. And on profit sharing, which is something that Ford does with its employees, over the last 2 years, employees got $8,277 in profit sharing under their current contract that's set to expire on Thursday. Under the new contract that Ford proposed, they would just get 21% less money. They would just have less profit sharing.
Come on.
What is going on? The fucking audacity of these automakers to just get in there and offer less.
Man, the worker said, yeah, we're going to take this. The ending of this contract is a chance to improve the lives of our workers. And Ford said, all right, we're going to take the ending of this contract as an opportunity to make the lives of the workers much worse.
Facts. Okay, you want to improve your life. You want to be able to, afford things, keep up with inflation, live where you work. I'm going to say you're actually getting a pay cut. You're actually getting less profit sharing, and you still can't live where you work. Oh, also, you're not a full-time worker here anymore. You're a temp. We can get rid of you. No pension, no health care.
And Detroit's not a cheap place to live.
Oh,
not at all. It's a major Midwest city. So crazy.
And it's like, even just where all the different places that the plants are, nowhere's cheap to live anymore.
Well, of course,
especially when they're cutting your pay in real wages. That's fucking ridiculous. And now, to get to something that we alluded to a little bit ago, something we talk about whenever a strike like this is going to happen or does happen is the fact that companies can be so fucking stubborn that the amount that they lose due to the strike can oftentimes be greater than if they just gave in to all the demands wholesale.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's the case here. So, Anderson Economic Group estimated that a strike that lasts just 10 days could cost the automakers $5 billion. And Goldman Sachs Equity Research estimates that a strike could cost GM and Ford $2.5 billion and $3 billion in revenue every week, respectively. In contrast, Goldman Sachs estimates that if they agreed to the 40% wage hike over the next 4 years, it would cost GM $4 to $5 billion and Ford $5 to $6 billion over the same period.
Over 4 years?
So in other words, a couple weeks of striking would already cost the company as much as it would cost them to just give them the money.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh my God. I don't understand how anybody can look at this. Even people that aren't very political, don't have an explicit ideology for labor. I don't know how anyone can look at this situation and say, yeah, it's the workers' fault. They're the ones being greedy. Not only will these companies lose billions of dollars by being this stubborn, but they're also going to hurt the local economy, of course, and the American economy as a whole. And that's not the workers doing it. The workers just want to live.
Whoever's crunching these fucking risk numbers over at these companies needs to just be fired. God damn, how stupid can you fucking be?
When you have the Goldman Sachs, like Mr. Capitalism, you know what I'm talking about? Like the spot for capitalism. They're saying like, yeah, this is going to fuck everything up.
Yeah, fuck y'all. Fuck y'all.
Come
and
on.
It's like, I personally, I feel like things here, 2023, year of our Lord, are a little bit worse economically than they were in 2019. And that strike lasted for 40 days and sent Michigan's economy into a quarter-long recession. So I can't imagine what's going to happen if a strike happens now, how long that shit will last, especially if they do a national strike. And wait it out. And I can imagine that they'll get more donations to the strike fund. UAW, it's like the big union. It's the one everybody knows.
Wait, what do you mean national strike? Is this not a national strike? This is just Michigan?
At all their plants.
Oh, okay.
Like everywhere, like every worker that works for a plant for Ford, GM, or Stellantis, wherever that is, mostly Midwest, also mostly Michigan. Like here in Flint, there's a GM plant and all that stuff. Everyone goes on strike, all 150,000 employees.
I mean, if the economy's got to suffer for people that are producing this much to be better off, to be able to live, to make ends meet, then
Oh, I'm down for it. Absolutely. 100%. But also one of the funniest things that I saw when I was researching for this little segment here was that the automakers came out and they said, hold on, guys, if we give you these concessions, it might cut into the profits that we need to use as investment into transitioning to electric vehicles.
Come on. Oh my God. They said, hey, yo, Sierra Club. we're gonna destroy the environment if these workers go on strike.
That's what I'm saying. God, you can't guys, we love the climate.
$21 billion isn't enough for the last 6 months to make an adequate investment into EVs. We can't do it.
Guys, you don't get it. We as the big three automakers, we love the climate, bro. We hate climate
We're not the
change.
reason it's happening.
Look at these blue collar workers coming in. They're killing the planet. Their greed is killing the planet.
Oh man, that's like perfect liberalism right there. I love it.
That's what happens when you put liberals at the head of these offices. That was good.
I don't even know if like the CEOs or the people trying to strike break here are liberals, but that's like the perfect anti-strike liberal sentiment. You know 100%, what I mean? They're destroying the earth. These blue-collar workers who are struggling to make ends meet, who have seen the real wages go down year over year, are destroying the planet. Yeah.
These silly little manual laborers.
It's not the companies, the people that run the companies that kind of push the coal and oil lobbies forward. It's not them destroying the planet. It is the worker demanding more.
They said, no. So that could like hinder our transition into EVs, but also I'm sure they don't even, fucking rinse out their tomato cans before they recycle them. I'm sure they don't even go return all their bottles, huh?
I did see, kind of related to them saying woe is me, I did see, I want to say like a week ago, I think it was somebody from Ford or some spokesperson for Ford wrote like an op-ed. It was the basic capitalist propaganda where he was saying like, oh yeah, well actually Ford's profits have gone down, which is just a lie. They've gone up.
Straight up.
I mean, they did like bounce down probably in 2019 because the strike happened.
Yeah.
But then he also said something like, and the CEOs had to take less of a bonus. It's like, oh no,
shut the fuck up,
100 million instead of 120 million. Like, come on, I'm sure they're fine. They are fine.
That's a crazy. I can't imagine getting on an op-ed, which is already like kind of crazy in of itself.
It's a little corny.
It's a little corny getting on an op-ed for like what, the New York Times?
Something like that, yeah.
See, you're already so far removed from the average person.
Yeah.
That this means nothing. But on top of that, getting on that op-ed, trying to, get people onto your side by saying, guys, bro, we had to take less bonuses. And this isn't even like, your fucking middle-class dad who works at like a regular, B-tier company who gets a couple $1,000s around like the holiday season. I'm talking the CEOs of some of the biggest companies on the planet getting millions and millions and millions of dollars in bonuses saying they had to take a little bit less.
Yeah.
Again, I can't imagine having that much fucking money ever. You don't need it. You don't need it.
This, politically speaking, though, this is the perfect opportunity for Democrats to kind of repair their image with blue-collar workers.
I hope.
Not to say like, oh yeah, Democrats should seize the opportunity, but I better see people like Big Gretch out there. Yep. I know Bernie's always out there, but like Joe Biden, this is his chance to like get on a picket line and like look real good. And it will strengthen it, of course, because if you got the president and the governor on the picket line against your company, I'm going to start sweating a little bit.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like quick. The embodiment of political authority, just like looking down, it's a big deal, I would think.
Holy shit, bro. But yeah, that's what's going on with them right now.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we'll know for next week's episode whether or not a strike is going to happen.
Nice. We won't get undercut.
Exactly. This one worked out for us.
Yeah. And you know what? That's why I'm in solidarity.
Exactly.
Speaking of destroying the economy.
Okay.
I think that we
definitely
should
not saving the economy.
Yeah, no, not at all. We should turn back to the GOP.
Yes.
They're doing some more things that are exceptionally evil. And, I just want to start off this section with a headline.
Oh,
I think this will summarize it pretty nice and prime us for this conversation. So this is from Business Insider. It says, quote, Republican lawmakers launch an effort to block student loan borrowers from enrolling in Biden's new plan intended to lower monthly payments. So not only is the GOP against you getting any and all student debt cancellation, but they're also against lowering the payments that they didn't allow to be canceled.
See, I don't understand, because lowering payments isn't lowering like principal.
Nope.
You're not lowering the amount you owe. You're just extending the amount of time that you owe that debt. Mm-hmm. That's like a personal finance decision. The GOP is getting all up in your wallet. Like, what the fuck? The pocket watching.
And now, for those that aren't aware, Biden, what they're referring to here is the SAVE plan. Yeah. SAVE is an acronym, and Biden rolled this plan out in August. It's now officially in effect. Basically what it is, it's just a heavily modified income-driven repayment plan where those making less than $15 an hour don't have to pay anything at all for their monthly payments.
Yeah, because what can you afford on?
Right, yeah. You can't pay it. And it cuts payments down to 5% of discretionary income for those that can pay, and that's income after you've already paid for things like housing necessities, childcare, other things like that. It also does some form of debt forgiveness if you stay good on your payments for like 20 years in a row. I was
going to say, those are 20-year plans.
Which is like you're paying back a vast majority of your debt at that point anyways.
You're paying more than your principal at that point.
Yeah, and the Biden administration has estimated that about 20 million borrowers would be eligible for this program. That's about half of the people that have student debt. And it's estimated to save people about $1,000 a year. That is money back into your pocket if you got a college degree or didn't, or went to some amount of college, took out any money for student loans in this country. That is money back in your pocket. The Republicans are saying you shouldn't get.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's money to help you hedge against inflation. That's money to help you make rent, afford fucking groceries, get good food.
Yeah.
And they don't want you to do that.
And most importantly, on a macro level, keep the economy going. Like the U.S. economy runs on consumerism. You can't consume if you don't have money to do it. Student loans act only as a shackle on your ability to spend money, to get things for yourself and to keep the economy running. Like, it's only a good policy to do this. That's it. Like, and Republicans are against it. And they're arguing, what their argument is specifically, is that it's overreach, so Biden doesn't have the power to do this, and that it will cost the taxpayers money. First of all, it won't cost taxpayers money. Taxes didn't increase. That requires an act of Congress. Biden can't just raise taxes. That's not how it works. And it also costs nothing to slow payments down. The money's still coming in eventually. They're not off the hook for it. They didn't get it canceled.
Also, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe this is fucking stupid. Maybe I'm just making some shit up in my head here. But if the debt is owed to the government and the government cancels that debt, that's not like the government is taking tax money to pay it off. It's just canceled.
Right.
It just doesn't exist anymore.
I mean, I guess in some way the government, the loans that people originally got are through taxpayer money, right? That's the way that the government gets the money.
But that's already gone.
But it's already gone. It's been spent. The university got the money already, right? The money is gone. But the thing that gets me especially is that student loans fall under the purview of the Department of Education, which of course is a cabinet within the executive branch. So Biden is the leader of all of that. Why wouldn't they be able to modify how much you have to pay back?
That's kind of their
why can't
thing.
They determine the conditions of repayment? You would think that is simple, right?
Yeah. And is this also the same plan that we talked about a couple weeks ago where he's like, we're just not going to go after you if you don't pay for like a year?
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Gas.
Yeah.
Let's do that forever.
That's open. It's open to enroll right now. If you all want to go over to, I don't know exactly what website it is, but you can look it up. Yeah, you can look it up and find it and try to enroll in the plan. You might be eligible. Apparently, like half of people are. But yeah, I mean, this is a policy that literally puts money back into your pocket by not taking it. And Republicans are simply against it. And that's on top of them previously calling for the government to apply interest retroactively on loans that had a 0% rate over the pandemic.
Man.
Like, that's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How is any of this popular?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I can't wrap my head around, is how is any of this popular? How do people look at that and they're like, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how it is beneficial for anybody for them to say, like, yeah, we're going to make the lives of 42 million Americans so much harder.
Yeah, I know that you, like, actually owe an insane amount on student debt, and you've paid down your principal, like, 4 times over, but really, you've paid down your original loan amount, like, 4 times over, but the principal's not going down.
Yeah.
Because that's all fucking interest, baby. But you actually need more interest on that retroactively.
Yeah, I know that you are shackled economically right now, but I'm sorry. You're going to have to pay that interest back.
I'm sorry, but like we made it up, and we also made it up harder.
Yeah, I know that the degree you got is not worth as much as you thought because it's really hard to get a job right now. And even if you do get a job, it's not paying as much as you should. And even if you do go on strike to try to get higher wages, I'm going to tell you that you're bad, you're wrong for that. I'm still going to need you to get this money back down.
And it's like, shit, I know that like with federal loans, you have 6 months to start repaying and you can use that 6 months with ever, but like maybe it's taken longer than 6 months to find a job because everyone's saying that there's a labor shortage, you need to get a job, but it's in the fucking services industry and you can't get a job in your degree field, but you're going to have to pay that shit back now.
Like, what are we talking about? It is ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, generally a good plan from Biden. Great, right? It's very good for people that have to start paying it back, but bad for everybody that the Republicans want to take it away. So.
Yeah, fuck. I really need to start paying back my loans. I can't.
Sign up for this plan and maybe you don't.
Bro, I'm going to have to.
Maybe you can get a repayment amount of like $15 a month.
Man, bro, I'd cry. That'd be so sick. Yeah. That'd be so sick.
One last story that I have for you all today. It's more about Republicans being crazy.
Okay.
It's kind of the theme for this episode.
Whole spectrum of Republicans doing wild shit.
This time we're zooming in on one of the states in our beautiful, beautiful union.
Okay.
We're talking about Wisconsin.
Let's go.
I wouldn't say particularly one of the best states. You know what I mean? Probably like somewhere in the middle of the pack.
They got like what? Like Milwaukee? Mm-hmm. They got like the Packers? Yeah?
Yeah.
Green Bay?
They're like middle of the pack, somewhere around 25 probably.
Yeah, for
sure. Not the worst place to be, but with this story, not a great place to be. So you'll remember that the Wisconsin State Supreme Court had an election recently, a special election, and the vote was basically all about if Wisconsin would either protect reproductive rights, abortion access, or if the Supreme Court was going to rule that nobody has, that you don't have a constitutionally protected right to it. That was the question of the election. And thankfully, the outcome of that race was that the liberal won, Janet Protasewicz, meaning that the state Supreme Court in Wisconsin had, I think, a 4-3 liberal tilt rather than a 4-3 conservative tilt.
Yes.
You can see how abortion rights would necessarily then be protected, right? Of course. Well, now, it seems like Republicans in Wisconsin have hatched a plan to impeach Janet Protasewicz before she can even issue her first ruling. The reasoning here, here's the reasoning here. We'll go step by step, right? There's a case right now coming before the Wisconsin Supreme Court that will decide their legislative maps. The accusation that's being made is that the maps right now, as they were drawn, were gerrymandered. They were unfairly drawn to favor conservatives, and because there's a liberal-leaning court, it's expected to strike the map down and tell the legislature to try again and not be so gerrymandering with the maps, right? Now, to avoid this, in this context, the GOP wants to cheat, right?
Naturally.
They do not want the state Supreme Court to say, you can't cheat at elections.
The natural state of the GOP.
Right. So now to avoid this outcome, the GOP in Wisconsin wants to impeach Protasewicz before this can happen so that they can keep their gerrymandered maps. Because if it's 3-3, and I guess if they tie, then nothing's going to happen.
It's a double negative. It cancels.
Exactly.
It's two cheating, just that's nothing.
And they're not without justification for this impeachment. They have a reason for it.
Really?
They're saying that Protasewicz can't possibly rule fairly on this case because her campaign received almost $10 million from the Wisconsin Democratic Party.
It's a campaign, dog.
But at the same time, literally every judge on the court right now received money from the ideology that they're closest to in regards to political parties.
No, literally though, that's another reason why it's just, again, so bullshit that we pretend the judiciary is nonpartisan.
Yeah.
Like what? Especially when we run elections for judge at the state and local levels. Elections, an inherently political thing. You cannot separate politics from what an election is.
Right, and some people have pointed out, like, well, Janet Protasewicz received, more money than any of the people currently on the court received, and that's true, but that's also because it was a nationally highlighted election. Yeah. Everybody was talking about it because it was going to decide abortion rights.
We talked about it for like 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. We brought it up a while ago. But the guy that she was running against received funding from the Republican Party.
And I would be willing to bet that he also got record funding from the Republican Party. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like the most funded state Supreme Court race in history.
Yeah.
So, obviously the numbers are going to be large. They're just using that as pretext to, like, ensure they can cheat at elections.
What a crazy thing to do. And I feel like that's a weirdly self-destructive thing to do, because then what stops anyone from impeaching any fucking judge?
Well, you got to have a supermajority to do it.
Oh, true.
And the kicker here,
the gerrymandering supermajority.
And the kicker here is that Wisconsin maps have been gerrymandered for a while because Republicans took hold, and then they cheated to ensure they could keep hold of the Wisconsin legislature. So right now, the composition of their state Senate and state House are gerrymandered ones.
Okay.
And they have the seats necessary to start impeachment proceedings and impeach her. The Senate has just the right, I think it's 55 people. They have exactly 55 people they need to convict her and kick her out. But the kicker here is that just starting the impeachment proceedings means she can't rule on any case. She's restricted from doing anything as the judge.
So then does the case just get held up in a 3-3 draw?
Right. Until the Senate says anything about it. What happens with the Wisconsin state legislature, as far as I know, is that they vote to impeach. If they impeach her in the House, then she's restricted from doing anything judge-related, and then it goes to the Senate, and if the Senate, says that she isn't going to get kicked out, then she can go back. If they kick her out, she's kicked out. So just impeaching her alone in the House, which they have the votes to do, means that she wouldn't be able to rule on these cases. I was going to say,
and wouldn't then they just delay the process until post-election?
Right, exactly.
And then they get the gerrymandered map anyway for this one?
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. What the fuck? Where are we?
To distill this story down in just one sentence, Republicans in Wisconsin, they're pissed they lost the election to Janet Protasewicz. So what they want to do is abuse the supermajority they have right now that they got through cheating, gerrymandering, to cheat again by kicking Protasewicz out because they have a gerrymandered supermajority, so that they can continue to cheat in the future through more gerrymandering.
What an insane abuse of power. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's an abuse of power, and I don't see why they wouldn't do it at this point. They got the House votes to do it.
Yeah, there's no reason why they wouldn't.
And that's all they need to do to keep the maps for 2020, for the next decade, right?
Yeah.
I don't see why they wouldn't. The only thing they need to do it is the balls at this point.
I feel like state legislatures have a little too much power when it comes to deciding their maps and shit, considering how everywhere is fucking gerrymandered to shit, especially when we had, what was it? What state did Morphy Harper come out of?
Oh, geez, I don't remember.
Either way, we had Louisiana had a wild map that was deemed unconstitutional. Florida just had a map that was deemed unconstitutional.
North Carolina had a crazy map,
I feel like there needs to be some sort of oversight body, some sort of federal regulation to kind of stop state legislatures from doing this crazy gerrymandering.
Yeah.
Especially when we can see that the process for oversight within every state is so fragile.
Yeah. Well, and that's why you need in every state a citizen redistricting commission. That's what we have in Michigan. We did it for the first time for the 2020 or for the census that came out in 2020. And California's been doing it for a while. I think New York started doing it, although I could be wrong there. But yeah, it should be federal law that every state has to use a citizens commission, and then it's just approved automatically.
And I don't care. Fuck if it's federal government overreach. It's clearly a good thing.
Yeah.
Clearly. Yeah. Come on.
We got to ensure fairness in elections, and I think the only real way to do that is have the people that literally vote design the maps.
That's kind of the most essential function of a democracy.
Yeah.
It's making sure that, one person, one vote, and making sure that maps are fair.
Well, yeah, because it's literally cheating. You are cheating by changing the rules in your favor to ensure that your party can stay in power. And Democrats have done it in the past too, and Republicans do it right now. And I really feel like the only way to get around that is by having citizens design the maps. And if you think that will still lead to one outcome over another, you can look to Michigan, which is about as split down the middle as you could be at this point. Because citizens design the map, and the congressional delegation for the House is pretty evenly divided. Yeah. So I think it came out with a fair outcome. Holy and it's shit. Better than letting elected officials who are in those districts decide where the districts are. Wild conflict of interest right there. Like, holy shit. Somebody should have thought of that.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah, no. It's a bad system, and I
hate it. Dare I say?
Yeah,
I hate it.
Look, I'll say it. I'm going to say it. I'm opposed.
Guys, I'm going to say it. Guys, hear me out. I don't like gerrymandering.
Yeah.
I don't like
How dare you? How dare you do that to us?
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, frankly.
Yeah.
God, but I mean, you know who I'm not disappointed in?
These beautiful people.
These beautiful people that keep the fucking lights running in the studio.
These lights right here. These
ones. You can't see them. They're out of frame, but you can feel them.
The glory of the lights.
Exactly.
I can't get away from it.
I love the glow. They shine down me like heaven. They smile down upon me like heaven. You know what I'm saying?
I'm almost like lifted out of my seat, off of my feet, into the air by them.
It's like I'm kissed by them every time I flick them on to come here and record.
I become a new person, really. I'm remade.
I feel like I can photosynthesize under these in that it gives me a renewed spirit, renewed energy, renewed function, and we couldn't have paid for these lights without these very special people who are near and dear to my heart, every single one of them. Nikki Nine Lives, Caden Kraut, Lord T the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Kotz, 40% Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Dylan B, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobs, Carl D, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Mayer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vezquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Mussey, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cuts, Gregory's in My Name, Veriuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfishin, Benneth Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Moises T, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's Boyfriend, Jonathan Cassis, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarleson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Aaron Taylor, Corey Chambers, Sewer Snack, Eliane, John Glover, Weed Thief 69.
I just gotta point out, you said Aaron Taylor, not Aiden Taylor. So Aiden, I got you.
I'm gonna fucking. Oh my god,
you, Aiden. Don't but I can't get called out for saying the name wrong again.
Don't be mad at me, bro.
Continuing on. Devin Hatchett, Retro Mondo, Meatball Minion, Emma the Dude Slayer, Claire McMillan, Breezy B, Elijah Murray, Veronica, aka V, Raxon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Magic Ian 95, Flower Clown, Jasper and Garris, Beetlebugs, Three Crows in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, and Hope of Giants, AK Gone, Aquana Don, Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Ishi Teddy, Cammy, Calliope, Reagan Not Like the President, Pagan Jester, Tylen Freeman, Steak Daddy, Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C, Pab the Pab 69, Kayla Lowe, Anna Volinik, Eduardo Diaz, KCC, Say Yes to West, August, Mason Crack, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you.
Could not do it.
And man, I'm still really stuck on Ford saying like, oh, they're putting the globe in front of themselves. Don't be mad at us. What about the Earth,
bro? Come on. You're killing the planet here. You fucking greedy little workers.
Yeah. That's a crazy story. And I hope you all have a good 9/11.
Hell yeah. Never forget.
Never forget. And we'll see you all next week.
Have a great one.